Wow. What a day. Can you believe this? The stock market had to halt trading until 9:49 a.m. to prevent an all-out crash because of the coronavirus and this oil sheik who decided to start a price war on oil. The world has gone completely crazy. Don't you think? The world has just gone plumb crazy. And this is the first quarter of 2020. I don't want to see what the next quarter brings. My goodness. Sheesh. We need deliverance for real. Anybody with me? I mean, we need some prayers. Like, seriously. I might have to invoke Jesus into this thing here and ask God for some help. Where does our help come from? This is some crazy stuff.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds.
I can't believe it. Just stay tuned. We're about to start. You just need to commit to other platforms. Thank you so much, everybody. Good morning. It's Monday, March 9th. And it is quite the Monday morning this week. We start off this morning with the stock market plunging 1,500 points. Can you dig it? The S&P 500 stock market actually halting trading until 9:49 a.m. to prevent stocks from falling right through the floor. That means at 9 o'clock, when trading started, they literally just started boom, 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 plunging, 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 and they had to halt 15 minutes to give a 15-minute moratorium to allow the market to restart. Have you ever heard anything like this? Well, what's causing this? Well, there are two things. Uppermost in stocks, in traders' minds, is what? The coronavirus and how it has disrupted global supply chains around the world. People can't get their goods out of China. If goods can't come to market, then you can't sell anything. So it's going to have financial projections. I was reading on Bloomberg yesterday, they role played 4 scenarios that are likely to emerge after this. And one of them, the first one, seems terribly optimistic that China will restart. Well, China says somewhat they have restarted because Apple says that their stores in China have reopened. But maybe those stores are located in the province where 60 million people are infected. 60 million people in one province in China have been infected by the coronavirus. That's something that's likely to spread. And then you go across to Italy, where northern Italy, the center of financial business, their finance center in Italy is in Milan, which is in northern Italy, right? And guess what happened there? The government has shut it down. They've asked people not to go to work, not to do anything. So people who had emigrated from southern Italy to northern Italy are headed back south. And the people in the south are like, don't come back down here. We don't want you to bring the virus down here. So the government has set up containment zones. Don't take trains, don't do this, don't do that, to try and contain the virus in Italy. Now you got to ask yourself, what's happening here? Now here in the US, we're kind of sort of like at the point where it's either the calm before the storm or it's contained. I'm not sure which. It looks like it is spreading out of control because we had to quarantine a whole ship off the coast of California. I think it's docking in Oakland right now as we speak. However, it could be the calm before the storm because so far what we've seen here in the US is that older Americans, seniors in nursing homes, are more susceptible to the virus, especially folks with with upper respiratory issues and folks with lung issues and congestive heart failure. Those folks are very susceptible to this virus. So if you have relatives and grandparents and parents and grandparents in their homes, would you call them and check on them? And make sure they're washing hands. Because I'm just going to tell you, if they're in a long-term care facility, more than likely, the Centers for Medicare Services, I worked in healthcare for a long time, and I worked in long-term healthcare. And I'm going to be honest with you, the Centers for Medicare Services rarely ever gives anybody a passing grade with good reason, because long-term care facilities often fall short of the requirements. In fact, that was my specialty, was to bring them back to recertification with Medicare. right? So I got them certified. Then they don't follow the protocols. Then they had to be recertified. So what we're seeing is so many those folks in long-term care facilities and and assisted living. Check on your folks. They're at severe risk because nobody washes hands before they touch one patient to another, and typically folks are already compromised. Those places are like a breeding ground for germs. You know what I mean? I can just imagine everybody who had to take the subway this morning in New York City probably just showed up with hand sanitizer and just wiped surfaces and just put on a plastic stuff over your clothes. I would. I just put a plastic stuff over my purse and over my body. You know what I mean? And put on a mask. I would, just so people won't touch you because it's crazy. So all of this is causing the stock market to just go plumb crazy. Can you dig it? It hasn't hit the 20 worst days of the S&P 500 yet, but it's trending. This is crazy. And then, of course, the other thing that affected the stock market is some Arab sheik, some oil sheik who started a war with his family and just started an oil price war in the midst of the coronavirus. It's like, okay, everybody's focused on China. I just want to get some attention. Lord, people's egos are so fragile. It's crazy. It's just plum crazy. See what I mean? It's just plum crazy. Ah, too much sauce. Isn't it too it's too much for Monday. It's too much for the first quarter of the new decade and the new year. It's too much. Honestly, the stuff that we've gone through in the first 3 months of 2020, normally we encounter that for an entire year. But since this year has started, man, it's just been hit after hit after hit. And I don't know about you, but I'm inundated. I'm ready for some good news. I am hoping the second quarter and the remaining quarters of 2020 will be better because I can't take this anymore. I don't want to hear about another pandemic outbreak. By the way, I know you've all suspended your summer travel plans. If you intended to travel out of the country, don't do it. Don't go. Don't. If you were planning to take a trip to Europe this summer, you may not want to do that. You may want to wait until next year. You may not want to do that. Don't go anywhere this summer. 2020 is staycation 2020. You don't want to go to places like, you know how we take our families to Disney and so on. You may not want to do that. You may not want to do that at all. You may just want to, you know what, let's just find a beach that's a couple miles away. July 4th, you drive down to the beach, stuff like that, because it's going to be something else this summer. Now, they say the virus might dry up in the warmer months, but it stays latent until the season starts again in October. So you may just not want to go anywhere. As for me, I ain't going nowhere. Staycation. And the funny thing is, this year we were gonna go because it's the last holiday before my youngest daughter goes to college. So we wanted to, enjoy her last childhood kind of thing, because after they go to college, they come back, they have, "Mom, I want to study abroad and I want to go hang out with friends or whatever." Oh, the joys of being a parent. Empty nest, everybody. It's happening. So today, so good morning. Yes, good morning to all of us. Yes. And then, of course, this nightmare that is daylight savings time. Hello. Should we start a petition on change.org? I mean, like this, it's a nightmare, isn't it? Just think about it. If I had young children this morning and I had to go to a 9 to 5 job, right? And I had to drop my daughter off at the bus stop prior to going to work, that was not going to happen to me this morning. When my children were, if you might be asking, so what happened when my children were younger? It was a nightmare. That's how I know. I used to sit at the bus stop and practically just waited. And then you know what I did? I just dropped them off at school because I couldn't be bothered. I was like, not so safe. You have young children walking to the bus stop so early in the dark in the mornings. It's not safe. It's time for this nightmare to stop. It does not save energy, right? It is not efficient for industry nor productivity. It does nothing. In fact, it disrupts supply schedules because don't know about you, but yesterday I almost missed my show at 10 o'clock because I thought it was 8:41 when it was actually 9:41. It's a good thing my producer was on power and had set everything up, and they're wondering why I was just sitting there sipping tea. I'm like, I have time. No, you don't, Miss Kamak. You need to go. It was hilarious. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's 9:41, not 8:41. This thing is a waste of time, right? Just totally a waste of time. But today I want to talk about the stock market going crazy and so on. Something came across my timeline from last week. I've been seeing this and I didn't do anything about it, but I thought I should talk about it today. And that is that a prescription drug that is used in the treatment of asthma has been given the most serious warning by the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. The FDA has given this drug a black box warning. Now, black box is reserved for those most serious and egregious situations. And I must say, this comes many years after there have been many reports that this drug is a contributing factor to suicides, especially among young people. And I'm going to read you some facts so that we all can be informed and know. So if you're taking this prescription drug called Singulair or its generic equivalent called Montelcast, Montelkaust, you all know that one, right? If you're taking it, then it's time to stop it, right? Montelukast, Montelukast is the generic name, and the brand name, of course, is Singulair. And we've been talking extensively about the opioid crisis and how this has impacted the lifestyles of so many people, and how the opioid crisis has gone out of control. It's affected and impacted the lives of people. But part of the crisis, part of what makes it a crisis, isn't just how addictive it was and how it gripped people in the throes of addiction, but it's also the side effects, what it produced. One of the things that the opioid crisis produced was an uptick in depression and suicide. Go figure. And it was happening amongst younger people. So these weren't just deaths of despair. These were despair that were medically induced, caused by the side effects of some drug. You remember last year in 2019, I reported extensively and I talked extensively on this podcast. You can go to my YouTube page to see previous podcasts of this one when I talked about the prescription drug Zantac. Eventually, it was recalled in November, but I had begun talking about it from February or March of 2019, that drug has been found to have what? A known carcinogen called NDMA. NDMA, I can't spell it, it's DMA. Okay, that's all, right? Well, that particular substance is present in the manufacture of a lot of pills, but it is a known carcinogen, unfortunately. So it's in a lot of the stuff that we manufacture. So it's kind of like pervasive, but it has higher levels than is recommended by the FDA. So prescription drug Zantac is prescribed by hospitals when people show up in emergency rooms and complain about all kinds of stuff. So be careful of that. And if you're taking Zantac for whatever your doctor prescribes you for, might need to call your physician. In fact, if you go to my YouTube page and look up that podcast, you will see where someone on my Facebook page actually reported. It was lisinopril we were reporting on, and somebody actually told their own story of what happened with lisinopril. So I was talking about lisinopril, and then all of a sudden, here comes Zantac. So guys, you got to watch out. This is why it's important to read the news, not just see the sound bites that take place on television, because sometimes some of us are taking prescription drugs for issues. And I want to dive into this because what I have found a lot is that you go to the doctor for something simple, especially this particular drug, Singulair. And people take their children to doctor for common things like hay fever and allergy season. My youngest daughter had a big problem with allergy and hay fever when she was very young. It affected her bronchi. I mean, at a certain time of the year in October and in the spring, it was hell on heels, right? And I was one of those parents who didn't believe in taking long-term prescription drugs. I just wanted the condition of alleviated. So I would ask for Benadryl. I said, well, if we subdue her and she takes it at night, she's young, she will sleep it off. When she goes to school the next day, by the time I pick her up at 3 o'clock in the evenings, she can sleep it off the next day. I just didn't believe in long-term prescription until eventually she outgrew that condition. She outgrew the bronchitis. But most parents, when they're confronted with even mild symptoms of hay fever and they take their child to the doc, the first thing the doctor is going to do is what? Prescribe, you know what? Prescribe Singulair. Now, I'm going to read to you some facts that is contained in an article on the Miami Herald. Listen to this. About 75% of lifetime cases of mental illness begun by age 24, according to the National Institute of Mental Health. The average delay between onset and intervention is 10 years, so meaning people could go for years without getting any help. Black box warning is the most serious warning issued by the FDA, and prescription drugs will now be placed on Singulair, also called Montelukast, right? The drug has serious mental health side effects. So if you know anybody who is taking this stuff right now, revisit the doctor for a new prescription. The FDA recommends prescribing only when no other drug is available. But you know what docs were doing? The big pharma was incentivizing doctors to write the script. They were writing prescriptions for Singulair. Listen to the side effects. The side effects are agitation, depression, sleep issues, suicidal thoughts and actions. Lord Jesus, help us. Did you just hear that? The side effects, agitation. Is it any wonder that we're seeing children in schools and we say that they have attention deficit disorders? Is it any wonder that we see children who can't sit still and you're like, why is Johnny always moving? Why is Ashley? She's always so busy. Just check out what kind of meds these kids are taking. We're medicating our children to death. So you start giving them these things, they become agitated, they start getting depressed according to the side effects. They start having sleep issues. They get up on one, you all know what that is. They get up and walk around in the middle of the night. Or you can't get them to settle down to go to sleep. And you're going to see this in a few minutes. Why? Right? So you can't get them to settle down to go to sleep. How many people you've heard say that? How many parents can't get their kid to sleep at night? And they told us that the problem was sugar. Everything was sugar. And my grandmother is still alive. They grew up on eating sugar. And they never killed them. My mother ate sugar. It never killed her. She didn't die from diabetes or high blood pressure. Are you seeing what I'm saying? So you have these kids and you hear them say things like, I don't want to live anymore. I hate myself. Check out what kind of meds these kids are taking. Because the meds have side effects that the doctor, in his haste to get you out of his office so that he can see the next patient, he does not tell you what the side effects are. So you can make an informed decision by saying, is there another drug? Oftentimes when we go, I'm just going to be real with you all. Oftentimes when we go to the doctor, we're intimidated. Doctors act like gods. And they act like if you don't do what they say, then don't talk back to them because they're the ones with the education. They're the ones who know more than you. But the doctor does not know your body better than you. You know that. They might know the human body, but they don't know your body. So when you go to the doctor and say such and such is happening to me and the doctor dismisses it, they're dismissing it because they don't have the time to really sit down and listen to what you're saying. They have a kind of a cookie cutter approach. So if this is what it is, it falls within these range of symptoms. This is your problem. Here's a script. Take it and run away and leave me alone. I'm too busy for you. I have other things to do. I have 10 other lives that I must save today because I am God and I'm God walking in the flesh. That's the attitude of doctors. And you might be sitting there saying, Harriet, you don't like doctors. I do respect them, but I also respect them more when they respect me. I want the doctor to respect me as a person. I want the doctor to hear what I am saying because my insurance is paying that doctor up to $1,500 for that visit, for the 5 minutes that she spends in front of my face. She ought to freaking listen to me. Do you understand what I'm saying? And what happens a lot is that the doctors are not really listening. They're fed up. They have their own issues at home. Maybe they didn't get any last night. They have to deal with spouses. They have to deal with all kinds of regulatory requirements. They do not have the time to sit down and listen to what the patients are saying. So you walk in there with little Johnny who exhibits signs of hay fever. Our environments are contaminated today. And especially when you have pets in the home. I don't know about you, but if you have pets in the home, the dog was just eating dog poo when you took him for a walk and smelling all kinds of stuff. Then you take him back home. He goes in your house, jumps on your couch, walks on your carpet, and you still think you're not going to have issues. Come on, America, wake up. Half of these issues, we cause them ourselves because dogs don't clean their feet on the mat by the door. And don't look at me funny. You know it's true. He was just smelling every piece of garbage that was out there on the street. And then he comes back in and you kiss him and he slathers saliva all over you. People let the dogs kiss their babies and their young children. Have you ever vacuumed your carpet? Do you have carpet in your house? Have you ever vacuumed behind your couch? Have you ever vacuumed your couch? Have you ever seen how much dog hair and cat hair is in your house? Well, some of it ends up in your nostrils in the back of your throat. Of course, it's going to produce hay fever. That's just one part of it. The various stuff that we spray in the air, perfumes and so on. So these things trigger hay fever in children and allergies. You take them to the doctor and they give them Singulair, which produces side effects of agitation, depression, sleep disorders, and suicidal thoughts and actions. So, as usual, I say this all the time, you go into the doctor for one thing, you get a drug that now gives you 5 other issues. A Netherlands study in 2017 linked the drug to depression and nightmares in children. This is a fact. Australia, the country of Australia, reports that a 2018 report received, listen to this, 167 cases of psychiatric events in children and adolescents between 2000 and 2017. One is too much, but 167 over a 17-year period of psychiatric events caused by this drug. Why did it take them so long to put the black box warning on this drug? Why? Is there no other drug without these side effects of agitation, depression, sleep issues, suicidal thoughts, and actions? The drug first appeared in 1998 and has been linked to suicidal thoughts since 2008. Hello. And it's now 2020 and they're just now issuing a black box warning. I want us all to sit and listen. When I was growing up, they never used to give us anything for hay fever. I kid you not. Oh, you have the sniffles? Let it run its course was what they told us. They never gave us antibiotics because the thinking at that time when I grew up was that antibiotics would eventually provide too much immunity against bacteria. So they would tell us to let it stay home and let the cold go away. Truthfully, in those days, I guess, colds would disappear in 3 days. But our environment is much more toxic today than it was 20 years ago. You see what I mean? So it's like, it's way worse. So what I'm saying is we have to look at our environments. And I know most people are like, but I'm attached to my dog. Your dog is not human. See, over in China, people eat dogs. and you think we're better human beings, so we domesticate them. Good luck, right? You look around in your environment. Personally, one of the things I discovered when my youngest daughter had bronchitis was that it might have been the carpets that contributed to it. So when we bought a house, what do you think I did? I ripped the carpets up. We live on wooden floors, and I love wooden floors, right? Have throw rugs, but not carpeted throw rugs. As much as I like oriental rugs, those fabrics are too thick and they retain all the dust that comes in. And dust does come into your house no matter what you do. If you don't believe me, just look at the filter in your AC and see how much black dust comes in, and you're like, oh my God, I thought I lived in a clean space. No, right? There's too much pollution in the air, right? So when you look at all those so those are factors in our environment that maybe we don't have any control over. But we do have control over what is in our house. I'm telling you, you all need to go back and check your vacuum bags and see how much dog hair and cat hair that actually recovered. Yes, I know that the pet stores and all of that, they have nice ads and they make the dog look cuddly, and everybody has a dog in their arms that they're kissing, but that's an animal. Just like we're telling people don't pet tigers, you got to look at all that those animals shed their hair. All that stuff is ending up in the back of your throat. Of course, you're going to have hay fever. I saw a recent article. There's a baby documentary on Netflix. And one of the scientists says that one of the things they discovered is that children, babies, when exposed to pets younger, they tend to have a built-in system against bacteria. But the study was not over a 20-year period or a 10-year period. So they didn't see when those children grew up to be 10 or 12 that they might end up taking single air. They're just kind of advocating that that is what they say. But just basic common facts. Just pull out your vacuum bag and look at how much hair is in that vacuum bag and ask yourself how much of that is in the back of your throat. Don't believe me? Take your dog for a walk. He stops to smell everything. His mouth, his snout, everything is smelling everything. And then it comes back and kisses you. And then you want to kiss me? No, you ain't kissing me. And you want to shake my hands? No, you're not. We all need to be prudent. This is why they're saying today, don't shake hands, a common Western practice of shaking hands when you greet someone. No, we ain't going to greet. We're going to do air kiss. And we're going to say, hey, I see you. That's all that matters. We're not going to shake hands because you don't know. Right? It's just the craziest thing you've ever heard. Australia reports 167 cases from 2000 to 2017. The same drug made by the same manufacturer. And nobody did anything about this. Nobody saw it fit to realize that this drug was making young people, children and adolescents, sick. In one report I read, listen to this, the drug first appeared in 1998. And listen to this, it prevents asthma attacks ignited by exercise in people above age 6. This is the part that just blew me away, everybody. It said doctors can prescribe for long-term asthma treatment in adults and children over 1 year old, long term. And you wonder why these kids are growing up and having suicidal thoughts, thinking everybody hates them, and then pick up an AR-15 and go have a mass shooting. Because we're giving them drugs with side effects. It's not the parents' fault, because your child gets sick, you take them to the doctor. The doctor is supposed to have done their work of looking at the side effects to know that if you're going to take this drug, give this drug to Johnny, understand that it likely has this effect. So the parent can determine, maybe I shouldn't take this. Is there another form of treatment? Like I was telling you, they wanted to put my youngest child on treatment because she had chronic bronchitis in spring and fall of every year when she was little. I said no. I went and got eucalyptus oil. I went and got mineral oil to stop the coughing, the dry cough, right? I held her little chest, prayed over her. I got eucalyptus oil and put it behind her ears. I put peppermint oil behind her on her pillowcases so she could breathe. So it would open her bronchia so she could breathe. We never had pets because I'm like, that stuff is going to contribute to as much as she wanted a little doggy. I'm like, no, it's gonna probably going to contribute to the shedding of hair in the carpets. I had the carpets cleaned. Do you see what I'm saying? I just refuse to place her on long-term prescription drugs because I thought it wasn't healthy. And this is perhaps like 2007, about the time that they were discovering these things with this drug. And I refused to put her on it. I'm paranoid. Yes, I must tell you because I don't trust prescription drugs. Because when it has components that I can't pronounce, I believe that there's some chemical processes involved that perhaps are not. This drug can be prescribed to people over 1 year old. I am not going to do that. Parents, start looking up. And what happens in today's world is we don't get much time to think because you're so harried as a parent. You have deadlines at work. You have to work. The stress of work is placing stress on your marriage and on your relationships. Let's just be clear, right? Work is stressful. The uncertainties of the work environment today, right? So you are stressed out. Your child gets sick. You're just really looking for a solution. You really don't have the time to stop while the doctor is speaking because the child is distracted to go look up the side effects of the drug. That's the darn doctor's job. But doctors don't believe that that's what they're supposed to do. They're God, they're King, their name is Jehovah. So they can prescribe with impunity any kind of drug to any member of the public, and it's like it's okay. We need to hold them more accountable by asking questions. I go to the doctor and I ask questions. If they don't like it, boom, 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 1, 2, 3, call up an insurance provider, and I'm about to change that because I want to know, right? And when you give children these drugs and people, folks, can I just ask you a question? When you go home, do you read the information that comes, the little pamphlet that comes with the drug? Please do. You're going to be blown away by what you think is a simple prescription for a condition that you think is not likely to be long term. And you find that you walk away with more symptoms than you need to. I kid you not. I say this all the time. You go in there with one complaint and they give you a drug that gives you five more complaints. This drug was designed for long-term use and could be given. It had dosages for children over 1 year old. So they knew what they were doing. And what happens is our children are now paying the price. They have psychiatric episodes and events. It makes them agitated, it makes them depressed, and it gives them suicidal thoughts. God help us all. Let me read you some more facts, right? The FDA, and I'm quoting, the FDA says they have received reports of mental health side effects, including completed suicides. See how clinical that term is? Completed suicides. That means people who have been taking this drug over time actually committed suicide. And according to the FDA findings, the mental health issues are resolved after stopping the medicine. It proves conclusively that the drug is the cause of the psychiatric episodes. After people stop taking the medication, the mental health issues go away. So if you have children who have had allergy or hay fever, and they might have had this drug, and all of a sudden your child changed. You notice that they have changed. So guess what happened? You start taking them to a psychiatrist because they start manifesting. I don't like myself. I hate myself. I don't want to live anymore. So you say, I may have to take my kid to and then you go to the psychiatrist And in them, they're more arrogant than the medical doctor, right? The psychiatrist is even more arrogant. They're so ivory towered, it's unbelievable. The psychiatrist does what? Put them on another drug that compounds the issue that's associated with the drug they were taking for the hay fever, which is what produced the mental health issues in the first place. Sometimes it makes you wonder if doctors cross check each other. No, it's something that is so subdued by the medical profession. They rarely ever cross check the medication that people are using. And when someone does actually commit suicide, they tend to write the reports because they're the ones who write the reports why the person died, right? So they tend to write the reports to say the person had chronic mental health issues and blame the victim instead of the damn drug. I challenge you all. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, I'm telling you right now, they do that kind of stuff with any of my children or grandchildren or any children I have. They're going to pay me some money and they will not have a license. It's time for us to stop sitting back and letting someone else get in the driver's seat of our mental health and our physical health. And we need to start being proactive about some of these issues that are happening with our children. We need to start asking questions. Yes, I know we're busy. I know we get flustered. This morning, my children told me from last night they wanted me to make breakfast, which meant due to this stupid daylight savings time, I was so freaking tired, I couldn't get up. So I got up later than I should. So I didn't get to work out and I had to make breakfast to make sure everybody was on their way. Okay. And I said to myself, this is what parents probably go through. So they can't work out because you're tired, you're stressed out, and you get up and you have to still make breakfast and pack lunches to get them out the door. And my daughter said, yes. And I said, the only way she said, but mom, you used to do that. I said, yes, the way I used to do it to get around it was I would wait with time change. So I didn't get to do my workout. So I'm a little edgy. Okay. I didn't get to do my Shavasana and do my downward dog thing. Anyway, I digress. But the truth of the matter is, children are facing long-term consequences as a result of taking this drug. And psychiatrists who continue to prescribe drugs compounded by the side effects in these regular drugs that are just there to treat sometimes chronic long-term asthma and bronchitis. And our children are suffering, destroying families, destroying that child's life, and destroying families. Friends, we got issues, don't we? We have issues. And the issues we have, the solution to those issues is that we need to become drivers of our own engines. We need to stop taking a back seat. When you go to the doctor, be alert and have a series of questions. I say this all the time. In your phone is a little notepad. Write down the questions you want and ask the doctor questions. If they're not going to answer your questions, that's fine. You go call your insurance company and change them quick, fast, and in a hurry. They will get a notification that you mean business, you want answers to your healthcare questions. When the doctor says there, if you say, doc, I'm feeling this, feeling woozy, feeling lately, tired and so on lately, they're going to give you a drug to prop you up. Very rarely does the doctor ask you what's your nutrition. Have you noticed that? Very rarely does the doctor ask you, what do you eat? Are you taking supplements? Are you taking vitamins? What do you eat? What's your diet looking like? Very rarely. You tell the doctor, I'm feeling fatigued and tired. They tell you to go run some tests, and then they write you a prescription in the meantime that gives you 5 other side effects. Before you know it, you end up in a world of trouble. This is why I say prevention is better than cure. It's one of the reasons why I take care of myself, because I never want to have high blood pressure or diabetes. I swear to God, I'm terrified, but not enough that I'm immobilized, just enough for me to be conscious of what I eat and how much of what I eat. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you're going to for high blood pressure, they prescribe you something like lisinopril that has been on recall, but you don't know that. You may not know that. And before you know it, lisinopril has NDMA in it that is likely to give you cancer within 5 years. There you go. You go in there one day and you're like, how the heck come? And then the doctor looks straight in your face and tell you you have a history. Do you have a family history? Well, that's why they showed up. No, it's because you started taking lisinopril recommended by the same darn doctor. You have to take control over your health. You have to. It's just like now with the coronavirus warnings, they're telling us the first phase of it is prevention. Is what? Washing our hands. My hands are constantly dry. I never have smooth skin on my hands because prior to the coronavirus, I wash my hands like I don't know how many times per day. I am constantly washing my hands with hand soap. I actually keep lotion by my sink to dry my hands and then lotion moisturize my hands. More often than not, you perhaps have seen me using moisturizer right while I'm on air because my hands are very dry. The skin on my hands is very dry because I'm constantly washing my hands. I guarantee you when I'm done today, all I have touched here are surfaces. By the time I'm done today, I'm going to get a can of disinfecting spray the place, and then I'm going to wash my hands before. I kid you not. It's the craziest thing. So because of that, I'm aware of this because when I worked in healthcare, we used to talk about airborne pathogens and bloodborne pathogens, and they've always recommended washing your hands to the tune of singing happy birthday. But there are some parts of our bodies that we can't wash our hands to prevent. Things like high blood pressure that might come from a lifetime of eating that we didn't know better or we didn't always pay attention to, a lifetime of stress, right? These things are contributing factors. And then, of course, there are things in your environment. You might be married to someone who loves sleeping with a dog on one side of the bed, but you don't. But for a peaceful life, you put up with it. And then you're the one who gets sick. With hay fever, you start taking single air, and before you know it, you fall into depression and you start wanting to end your life, which puts pressure on your marriage. And before you know it, you're done. God help us all. So when I say God help us all, God help us all, right? So this drug, they haven't withdrawn it from the market. It's not on recall, but they're saying they put a. That means the prescribing clinician should be able to say, if you're going to use this drug, understand that it's going to give you agitation, depression, suicidal thoughts, and actions. Notice the word actions. That means people are going to attempt to hurt themselves. My friends, we got to. We got to think about these things, yeah? We got to think about these things. We got to think clearly about some of these things that we're taking. We have to do this for ourselves. You can't just wait anymore. This is why when I see these, you notice I wear glasses sometimes. My eyes are constantly strained because I'm always reading. Not just because I'm curious, but because I want to be informed. Because I too am prone to hay fever. Because we've had such a iffy winter in the Midwest, my goodness, it can't stop. It's like, can it just stay one way? Is either it's going to be winter or it's just going to be spring. So my body can adjust and acclimate. And I've had this since February, and my doctor says it's just seasonal. It will go away. Just use nasal spray to make it go away. So I don't even want to use a nasal spray. One of them, Flonase, was on temporary recall because they had something wrong with the bottles. It will actually stop it, and it will stop the congestion that produces it. But I'm like, maybe just using the saline and just put up with the discomfort of it, because I don't know. I don't know that I want so many chemicals running around in my body. And I must give you this disclaimer. I mostly eat a plant-based diet. Well, what happens to folks like me who eat a plant-based diet most of the times, is we tend to retain water. It's an unintended side effect. So I'm constantly bloated. So I always look like I need to lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds, when in fact what it is just water weight because of my diet. I eat mostly plants. Most of my protein comes from plants. The more I try to change it, is the more it doesn't work for me. I kid you not. I can't. I can't eat a hamburger. I can't eat a steak. It's like I can't touch it. Sometimes I crave the taste of it, but can't touch, can't eat it. Eat it, and my stomach is crazy. My whole system is out of it. So here I am. So then, what I'm saying is, we need to become more proactive. I'm suggesting if you have carpets in your home, pull them out. You're gonna feel better. If you don't know you just need to pull your carpet out and look what's underneath it. That underlying underbed thing there, that's what's making us all sick. It has so many chemical fumes, we don't even realize that we're inhaling it all the time. And I used to be like you. I live in the Midwest. I'm like, I don't want to wake up in the mornings and put my foot down on a cold floor, but I found that wooden floors, they're perfect and they retain the heat anyway, right? Except, like in the bathroom and the wet areas, the dining room and so on, right? Pull up that carpet and you'd be amazed at what happens. And especially if you have pets, you might want to look into that. Because think about it, you leave the dog at home and you leave the toilet bowl up. He even knows how to lift the toilet bowl up. Where do you think he gets his water while you're away? He drinks from the toilet bowl. And as soon as you come home, he jumps all over you. So all the germs that are in the toilet bowl are on you. You kiss your spouse and kiss your children. There we go. Right? Singular has a black box warning. I didn't even know the FDA has a black box warning. I think maybe they should put it on some other drugs, don't you think? Lisinopril being one of them, and now Zantac. Zantac is a common prescription for upset stomach, isn't it? But it has NDMA, high levels of NDMA, warranting the FDA to issue a recall. Wow, my friends, we got a lot going on. So maybe the stock market has come back up. We need to watch that. It's only the first quarter. Just chill. It's gonna work out. We're gonna go through this period for a little bit. It's gonna be a little rough for all of us here in the U.S., the entire world for a little bit, but then it's gonna ease out. Okay, so just ride it out. It's a change. Whenever you see this, it's the next decade. We have to set things up for the next decade. So it's changing. It's changing. Just it's gonna be rough for a little bit. Just ride it out. Just ride it out. Right? Just ride it out. Right? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Just chill, hang in there, don't panic. Unnecessary. Keep your body moisturized, keep your throat moisturized. Wash your hands, avoid touching your face, avoid touching your nose, and especially if you have gone public and touched surfaces, make sure you have hand sanitizer. Keep hand sanitizer in your pockets. Yeah? Just keep some in your pockets to make sure that you keep yourselves and keep ourselves. So you have a barrier, right? Right? My name is Harriet Kemmick. Go to my website, harrietkemmick.com. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you listening to other podcasts that I have done. My YouTube page is available, as well as you can find me on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. I thank you so much for your support. Visit my page on Anchor FM and be a subscriber. Subscribe to our podcast for 99 cents a month. It helps us to pay the bills. We do have to take care of all of that, right? Thank you so much, everybody. It's Monday. I'm letting you go because I know you have things to do. I appreciate the time. I appreciate you staying with me. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, everybody. Be blessed. Wow. Be blessed, everybody. Thank you so much. What a show. What a show, people.